So it's been about a year since the release of BFDIA 6. The episode starts with a scene of the contestants falling over a dark night sky, and it looks like this. But this scene didn't always look this way. Let me show you the BFDIA 6 alternate cut. Here's the original render, version number 1, which we rendered at 5:19 p.m. on August 31st, the day before the episode came out. Notice any difference between this one and the final cut? Well, the sky was originally a lot darker, which makes the contrast between the sky and the contestants' black limbs harder to see. That's a problem, so we'll have to fix it for version number 2. So what if we go into the FLA file and make all the limbs white? That would contrast extremely strongly with the sky, and it's reminiscent of Michael's 2017 remodels of the Season 1 thumbnails that had white limbs, such as in episodes 1B, 2, 6, 8, 10, 14, 20, and 23. Well, here's how the white limbs look in version 2, rendered at 5:31 p.m. As you can see, it kind of looks okay, but there's still the issue of when the limbs show up in front of a character's body, like Spongy, who's quite large and quite yellow. The limbs still show up as white, which doesn't quite make sense because white doesn't contrast well with the yellow. So maybe they should only appear white when they show up in front of the sky and black all other times. So how can we do that? On to version 3. First, let's simplify our scene by removing everything that isn't a character body. A really convenient way to do that is just go to the library in the panel on the right and delete the folders for eyes, mouths, and limbs. Assuming you organize your assets correctly, all eyes, mouths, and limbs should be gone now. Next, to tell the computer where characters' bodies are, let's paint all bodies bright blue, 0000FF, if you catch my drift. Why should we do this? Well, limbs should only show up as white if it's not in front of a body, so this is our way of telling the computer where the bodies are. By contrast, the background pixels will be a pure white. The result of this is what's known as a pixel mask, and it looks pretty cool how it's just 2 colors, it's very clean, very isolated, very simplistic, and it will come in handy in our video editing later. Next, let's remove everything except the limbs. Since they're the most complicated element, they can be either black or white. This process is relatively similar to the last one. We just remove the eyes and mouths but keep the limbs, and color the bodies white this time instead of blue, so they blend in with the background. Also, you might wonder why I'm not simply tinting the symbols, since that's a super common technique in Adobe Animate. The reason is I want my edit to carry over every time the symbol appears again later in the FLA file. We are done with what I'm now calling the isolated limbs cut. Here we see all pixels that belong to the limbs in black. And interesting to note, they do get occluded by objects in front of them, like the yoyo berries covering up Ruby's arms, or Ruby's arms disappearing in Book's mouth. Those objects, despite not being visible here, do have an effect. That's an important distinction from the body's pixel mask, where the bodies show through no matter what was in front of them. I don't know about you, but I find it kind of mesmerizing to watch these 2 screens play at the same time. One showing us the body motions, and the other showing us the arm and leg motions. But now it's time to combine the 2 to really make the magic happen. From the isolated limb cut, chroma key just the black pixels, tint them red, and lower it to 50% opacity. Don't question it, just do it! Then slide it on top of the body pixel mask, and look what you've got. Ooh, pretty. Pixels that are on the limbs, but also in front of the sky, will be a pale red, since it was red pixels over white pixels, aka pink. On the other hand, pixels that are on the limbs but also in front of bodies will be purple, since it was red over blue, aka purple. So what's next? Well, render this whole amalgamation, and then chroma key that for just the pink pixels, to isolate when limbs appear over sky. Remember, the only way a pixel could be pink is if it had a dash of red for being a limb pixel, and a dash of white for being a sky pixel. Then take this chroma key, tint it pure white, grab that original version 1 render from ages ago, put the white tinted chroma key on top, and voila!
Now you and I are matching.
We sure are, Nickel. Hold on, Nickel doesn't have arms.
That's because I'm coiny. I just ate a few too many yoyo berries.
But wait, I, Nickel, do in fact have...
This is basically my final test of BFDIA 6's alternate cut, where limbs appear black when in front of characters' bodies, but white in front of the night sky, rendered at 6:02 p.m. Take some time to notice where this really takes effect, like Book stretching Coiny's arm over her body is a great example of this. His arm goes white to white as you trace along it. I can see the appeal of this, No matter where a character shoves their arm, it's always clear to see. The limbs shine bright as day in the middle of the night, but also don't look weirdly glowing when in front of a colorful background, like Spongy's body. So, after all that, did we end up going with this black-white limb edit? Especially with all the work I put into it? No! I decided all that contrast was too busy looking, and a simple brighter sky was easier on the eyes anyway, and made the black limbs easy enough to see. So that's why the final BFDIA 6 cut didn't have any of this cool black-white limb shenanigans. Still though, it was a really fun experiment I tried, and I learned a lot about what's possible with chroma keying. I figured, why not share the experiment with you, the audience, because some of you object show creators out there might like to try this technique in your own night sky scenes. Let me know if you do. Anyway, thanks for watching and goodbye!